So my first question is, well, my personal view of Avengers Infinity War is that it's a film about loss and failure.
That's correct.
I don't know if you agree, but if you, what would be the overall theme of Avengers Endgame?
It's tricky to talk about only because we don't want to give any context for the movie, but you are correct in that Infinity War is about loss. I mean, that's the whole point of the movie, is that the expectation of a commercial film like that is that it's going to have an optimistic or hopeful ending. Mm-hmm. And we gave you the exact opposite. And it was sort of a unique experiment in commercial filmmaking where, you know, you give the audience exactly what they're not expecting. And I think that surprise generated an intense dialogue. We will say, though, that, you know, that the ramifications of that and how it affects the characters, how does a hero define themselves in loss and despair, that certainly is carried over into Avengers Endgame.
Mm-hmm. Infinity War was a terribly ambitious film, a beautiful film in my opinion, but in such a great scope project, there is always that becomes a little rough in the edges, let us say. Is there something...
A little rough in the what?
In the edges.
Okay, yeah.
Is there something in that film that you would do differently today, or even change?
Oh man, look, we have been so well supported by Marvel as filmmakers. I think Joe and I, one of the great pleasures of our experience making these movies is that we pretty much get to do exactly what we want to do and exactly what we're hoping to do. We have a studio that supports us creatively, and then we have like the financial and technical resources to achieve it, you know, which is pretty amazing. So I don't know that I can't really think of anything that we would change in that movie. Can you?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, as comic book readers, you know that crossovers are a tricky thing because you have to manage with the expectations of fans.
Right.
And if you had, and please note the conditional, to choose in one film between pleasing the fandom and your own artistic vision, what do you think you would do? Would you go straight ahead, or would you try to find ways to compromise?
I mean, I don't think that we've ever, you know, we don't know how to please the fandom because they have different opinions and they all want something different. Mm-hmm. And we've learned over our careers that the surest way to make a terrible movie is to try to anticipate what you think people will want. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we just make stories that excite us and that we're passionate about. We want to get out of bed every day and work really hard on for 2 or 3 years. And, you know, so if we don't care about the story, then you know, we don't have any interest in doing it. And, you know, so every film that we've made for Marvel has been about, you know, challenging ourselves and trying to surprise ourselves by making story choices that we feel are you know, complicated for, you know, commercial movies.
Mm-hmm. If I'm not misinformed, you are going to take a break from Marvel films. What are your plans for your future, and how do you envision Marvel's future in, let us say, 5 years or so?
I think what we're doing is we're focusing this summer on shooting a movie called Cherry with Tom Holland, mm-hmm. loosely based on a true story about a young Iraq war veteran U.S. Soldier who comes home suffering from PTSD and gets hooked on OxyContin and then ultimately heroin. And it's an indictment of the opioid epidemic that is really consuming America at the moment. And then Marvel, I think, you know, what I love is that the diversity just keeps increasing, and they're making bolder choices. And in 5 years from now, I think it's going to be one of the more interesting, you know, places for young filmmakers to work. And I think, you know, they haven't talked about what's going on, but there's some really amazing voices that are going to be working on some of their upcoming films. And I think it's, you know, I think you have to start looking at it as a place that really fosters young talent, and I think it's going to be an industry leader in terms of diversity.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.